Hello, everybody, and welcome to Whiz Bang Marketing for Comics, the Masterclass. So this is week one of four, and week one, who are you? And I'm really excited to be able to continue this exploration in these cartoon and digital illustration master classes and workshops with the very talented Jeff Wilson. And I'm really excited that he can bring his knowledge base. And I think that's really key is to bring his knowledge base to get everybody thinking about what they need to do and to work on their their style development and really how do you market that's what we're doing now with a few of these series is to really look at now that you're doing things, how do you really stand out and how do you individualize yourself as an artist as well. So I think some really amazing topics that Jeff's going to cover in this series. So just want to thank all our partners in this. We have the Canada Council for the Arts. Then we have our library partners. We have the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. In terms of equipment, really, again, we can access iPads, iPad Pro at the Blue Mountains Public Library. We have some iPads available at the Collingwood Public Library as well with this Procreate software that Jeff's using to demonstrate. And if you're interested, you can just get it. It's about $15, really low-cost app that we've found that's quite diverse and really has a lot of amazing features that we've seen from Jeff's 2D animation workshops just last month. All the way through now. So yeah, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff here. And if you guys have any questions, just kind of keep them. You can put them in the chat box, and we can address them. And also put up email addresses so that you can contact Jeff about this workshop, or if you have any questions about Creator Space, you can contact me as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff. And here we go. Here's Jeff.
Okay. Hi, Tom, and thanks everybody for joining me today. And I hope we'll have a lot of fun today. Whiz bang, that is such a descriptive word for what I do and what I love to do. And it's I'm not a whiz bang person, but and when I think about it, some of the cartoonists who did the most whiz bang stuff were just guys who would walk down the street and you wouldn't even know who they were. You wouldn't say that's Gary Larson or that's Don Martin from Mad Magazine. These are just regular guys like you and me. They look like us. They act like us. They live life like us. But there they are. They had these amazing things going on in their heads that made them big stars in what they pursued in life in their cartooning careers. So, but you are the center of what you do. So. In their own little world, they created some amazing things, and you know what? It's not a field that's separated from us either. We have the same faculties. We can do the same things. I know you have a daily life that may seem mundane, but I'm sure Don Martin and Charles Schultz and Gary Larson did the same, and Robert Crumb. I mean, Robert Crumb, who was the wildest cartoonist I ever knew of, and he was just probably regular guy, had his mundane days, woke up on one side of the bed and did his daily routines like many of us do. So even though he probably had some stranger things going on in his life than we did, but to him it was a mundane existence in a lot of ways. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. Who you are is going to be a big part of your expression in your cartooning. And if you're doing some cartooning already, if you've done some of our sessions, you will have noticed this already. You have something that you're bringing into the story, even though it may look somebody else's work, or you're a big fan of somebody else's, and that always reminds you what you do of their style. There is something that you're bringing into your work, key concept that can be a winner. And I'm not saying there's really any losers when you're bringing yourself into it. It may not be the most popular comic strip. It may only have one or two readers. But if you are feeling that you're putting yourself into it and that you're getting something out of it, it's a two-way street with cartoonists and cartooning. You put in so much and you get the rewards back too. It's cartooning is a very therapeutic work. I would have to say I would probably be in a mental hospital many years ago if I just did not have this outlet at times. I'm so happy to be able to have an outlet like this that's pretty healthy for me, and I'm not a bad person. I'm not. I don't think I am. Anyway, it has healthful qualities to it, and we'll talk about that too. That's but whiz bang, like this is really exciting what we can do here. But um, let's think of what's going on in your life. Who are you? Let's take a look at some of our cards here. I don't know, Tom, if you can going to be able to go to the iPad here. So I'm not going to turn away from myself. I'm going to be looking at the iPad and putting some of these screens that I have there. I'm just looking at it, the screen now. A future. This is the future when your comic strip is hopefully gaining popularity in the world. Number one question: Who are you? Who are you? And who do you think you are? Coming out there and being a great cartoonist and being fantastic. That's number one. Who are you? What do you bring to the table, basically, to the story? Number two, who is your audience? Have you determined that yet? Sometimes it takes a while to determine who your audience is, but I think over time you will determine that. Who is your audience? Who likes what you do? It'll be probably people that are similar to you, that you maybe even interact with personally. That's your family, your friends. They'll probably be your biggest supporters and your biggest audience that at the start, but it can grow. You'll see it grow later on, we hope. What have you come through in your life to now? So that's a big part of it too. Your past experience, things that you've gone through. In my life, I grew up on a farm. Did a lot of my cartooning work. It affected a lot of my life, really, too, in many other ways. It affected the way I looked at the world in a lot of ways. So that's a very important consideration. What have you come through in your life, and how do you view this world around you? This strange ones that from another very important thing. Here's you. It can be people that have done things in the past, and you're presently in your life, people that have passed away, but they stayed in your life, the things you do. It can be maybe yourself, and that's okay. What are the themes what are the consistent themes that was something that as we occupy a certain time period, experiences can be quite common. We are here, so I'm talking to those of you now. We're living in a time that look back on with what about this thing? What does COVID on? So there is a consistent theme that is consistent in all. And there are other ones too that you, if you really look, you will discover it. And recurring visuals, words recur in your work. Now as you go on, you're working the consistent visuals, things that can be developed. The reason I mention both of these themes of consistent visuals is that you can running storylines that can be back. The cartoonist did, who did a comic recently, would be bringing in, and he for a while, all this hilarity into the story, and that's the sort of thing that you want to be able to do. Just add such impact to your humor and to your work, and the recurring visuals, or what is your feature, I should say, your animation look like. What sort of that that people, I love reading, or I love looking at this because this shows up, and love that. It doesn't show anything else, but it shows up, and this is what you use in your concept to draw in members, but to basic keep the in there. So, very important thing. Explore next. Title card down, and these are certainly these. Sorry, let's show this again. Let's go back here. Yeah, these are certainly not the ones who everybody remembers or knows, but they are certainly ones that inspired me, and they're logic as well, because for one, Robert Crumb, who I drew in at the end, I didn't know where he fit in, basically. So yeah, let's go to Jordan, who did a strip called Crazy Cat. Crazy Cat was basically a little cat and mouse strip. Cat and mouse storylines are basically the cat to catch the mouse. Now, Harriman, he had the cat loving the mouse, and the mouse wanting to get rid of the cat. The cat was always getting on nerves. It was a strip that was animated, and the first time I encountered Crazy Cat was as a 60s and watching childhood age. And I used to watch at noon. They would have a cartoon show on one in rural Ontario, and they had these cartoons with the 30s or maybe even earlier. Crazy Cat, about this cat who would pursue the mouse because she loved him, and he would throw a brick. Violent comic. For people who are into violence, but the violent thing was when the mouse would hit the cat and head ridiculously. The whole idea was the reversal of the role, the love and not hating the mouse, not trying to. So that the mold, and it really was fun for me growing up, knowing what cats and I like. Kind of a nice reversal of the role. Now let's get into Will Eisner. Did I cartooning class, Sheridan College back in '77, and I actually got to do a for our magazine at the which here's items these things because of people like Will Cover or a couple of other who did a couple of and that would have students work in. The goal was to get these students distributed, their work distributed, so that people would say, "Oh, that guy, I'll give him a syndication contract for $1 million." But of course, that never worked out in most cases. But Will Eisner came and demonstrated a couple of his characters, drawing them, and showed us. He didn't have a brush, so I remember my friend said, "Oh, I've got a brush right here," and he lent it to him, and he. I remember Will said, "Well, this isn't. I guess this will have to do." And he began to do this amazing drawing. He had already penciled it, but he didn't have a brush to ink it, so he began to ink this drawing. And as he was talking about what he was blowing us away with his artwork in front of us. He was telling us about his experience in the cartooning world and how he started out reading the old daily strips which was all was available at the time, and then developing his own business, his own comic. He was an owner of a comic company that distributed in a magazine called the Spirit Magazine, which was in, I think, the Philadelphia Inquirer and several of those papers. I think the Hearst papers. His work was a Sunday supplement for them. So he basically created this whole thing. It was I didn't realize it till later. At the time, it was like this old guy. This old guy's pretty neat, but who is he basically? But he was quite a inspirational and a very guy who broke the mold for sure. Let me talk a bit about Jack Kirby now. Jack Kirby was a guy who worked for Will Eisner at one time. He was a one-time cartoonist, did ghosting for dailies. At that time, daily comics were, they were doing comic books and so the artists who created them didn't always have time to do everything that had to be done, and they would be probably doing other things too. So they would hire ghost artists, and Jack Kirby was one of those. He worked on many of the Will Eisner comic productions, and he was an animator. He worked on some animated films at one time too. He was an in-betweener. Started that, but he really loved the comics. What really put him on the map was Captain America in the 40s with timely comics, and then of course he and can't remember his name, Stan Lee. They were basically creating comics for forever, and up until he died. Anyways, then Don Martin, who was maddest artist, a great cartoonist, who he had the great sound effects, amazing sound effects, such great stuff from Don Martin. He was a very inspirational guy. He had characters that looked very distinct. I would like to show you these things. These are very searchable on the internet. If you hear anything that you want to search, like Don Martin, I would recommend seeing him, because very talented guy. But again, he was a regular guy, but his work was just magnificent and just beyond what I'd ever seen before. He was a big favorite of mine. Let's go to Gary Larson, The Far Side. He was a guy who was he's a very intelligent, very talented guy, but he lived in a world that was very, very methodical and very logical, and you don't vary from this to do this. He was a scientist basically, and basically despised the regimentation of it, and he created this Far Side, which some of the funniest things that he does are very, you can tell that it's similar to Don Martin. I feel that he must have been inspired by Don Martin, because the characters are so similar. But Gary was, and now, since he's created the Far Side, people are coming out in the scientific world and saying, that sort of thing saved me, because I was feeling the same thing. But I started reading the Far Side, and it kind of got me out of this thing that we're machines and we're not. We don't have creative sides, even if we're scientists. It showed that there's a validity to the creative side, and that was Gary Larson who brought that out. Bill Watterson, who created this amazing fantasy world of the little boy and his tiger, and the world of imagination that I don't know if anyone has ever done before. The one that came closest would be a strip called Little Nemo in Slumberland, and you can search that as well. I haven't put it on here, but yeah, until Bill Watterson, nobody had even come close to creating the fantasy world, the world of the imagination in a child's mind. And he's still very popular today, and he's alive, but I believe the strip is just in rerun syndication, still very popular, maybe more popular than ever in books and whatnot. And I saved Robert Crumb for last, because I don't know if he ever was a normal guy. There is all kinds of material on Robert Crumb, and he just was a very distinct person. The underground comic world, which was very influential and very much inspired by these other guys and what they did, but it was edgy. And but I don't know if Robert Crumb lived the most wonderful life, because he kind of started in the underbelly, and I don't think he ever made it back out. And I don't know if he ever wanted to, but Yeah, I mentioned him because he was kind of he took it to a very dark direction and was very successful with it. And he's in history. He'll be remembered for what he did. But again, it's it is what it is. These guys broke the mold, and so that's great. So let's take these sources of inspiration. This is what we need to do as cartoonists. These are sources of inspiration. These are not what we're aiming to do. So let's have a look here. I had a look at a concept I wanted to create, and try to make it distinct, unique, something that was a little dark, but had dark and light sides to it, and some, a little bit of humor, a little bit of strangeness. And this might be your idea, might not, but I created a guy the other day. This might be the start of the greatest comic strip ever, might not, probably won't be, because I think it's not the first time this has been done, but this is an example for you. This is a sample of what you can do. The idea of Evil Nobody, who is a guy who is a regular guy, but he looks kind of scary looking, and he has this goal of being a dictator. He's this wannabe dictator who can't seem to get any respect. He's the Rodney Dangerfield of dictators, and it doesn't matter what he does, nobody recognizes him. So I just thought it would be so much fun to have every day him trying to do something really imposing and really aggressive, and having people cower in fear at him, and he can't do that because nobody has any respect for him. They just like, who are you? And that, and also filled in the who are you concept too that we started with today. So anyway, so I let's take this down, and I did a little strip of the Evil Nobody, and let's take a look at this. This is ridiculous, but anyway, I did a comic strip thing a few weeks ago where I was using the colors and some spot colors to do a comic strip, and this is something that I thought would be fun for this type of character. So this is an Evil Nobody, and he's got a thing here saying world destruct button. So he's laughing maniacally, and he's about to push the button to destroy the world, and somebody comes along and turns the bottle, or turns the thing he's going to push here, and it says aerosol flatulence, and he's like, oh, I've been foiled again. And that is a concept you'll find in cartoons. That's the person having this great thing they want to do, and they're always like, oh, I'm still at the place I always was. And especially somebody that has such big ambitions to rule the world or whatever. And here they are foiled again. It seemed to me it would be a fun thing to do day after day, but it probably isn't. I don't see too many characters like this now, but it was sure fun doing these little drawings here. The world destruct button, and then just somebody turning it and finding it was aerosol flatulence. And I was going to say another word, but so anyway, the characters kind of ridiculously how do we say it? They're very detailed, but very strange to look at. And the reason I chose to do a character like this is because people like Gary Larson and Robert Crumb and Don Martin did it. They had characters that were kind of grotesque and very unusual to look at, but they made them characters that we could identify with somehow. We could identify with their imperfectness. We could identify with their humanness in many ways. And this is in the underbelly too. As I was saying, the Robert Crumb inspiration, that he had this sense of the underbelly of humanity, and how, and that's a very important thing too. It's we try not to show that to people, well, I don't know, some of us do try not to show it to people, but it is a part of us, and that there's nothing anything that's a part of our day-to-day life is a valid thing to bring out in a story. Like a day-to-day life, day-to-day drudgery. Let's go back to our concept card here, our Evil Nobody card here, and we'll get to that back again later. But Evil Nobody here. So yeah, let's talk about things that you could bring into storylines. It could be really edgy and really amazing things for you to draw or write on. Let's say you live across the street from a place where caskets used to be made, and that is now maybe a mysterious goings on there. Maybe you suspect maybe a grow up. All the mysterious things that could go on there. Were there caskets left there? Are the people that are there now, are they shipping hydroponic produce in old caskets? And it's also thinking about these things and bringing them out in a concept like this is it could be a fun outlet for your anxieties of your life too, because you know, it's like, okay, this could happen. Well, what if I made a comic about this? And it does happen. It gets it out there. A job. Maybe you work in a job where you work alone. You don't do much, but you feel like somebody's watching you all day. And I think for most of us that work from home, and some of us do, and some of us work still in offices, but you know, there's fewer and fewer people to work with, and sometimes we work alone. And like, what are they watching? And you know, we live in the age of a lot of watching. Everybody's watching everything we do. What are they looking for? Are they selling your time management or skills, or the platform you've created? Is it the government collecting data on you to, you know, for something that they feel they need to collect on you for whatever reason? Do you know, you can play with ideas and see where it leads. It might be just you know, maybe it's an old girlfriend that wants to see what you're doing, or just check on you, make sure you're not you know, or an old boyfriend, who knows? You just never know where it may lead. Don't let things hold you back. It's fun, and you probably will find something in that day-to-day mundane thing that you just never thought about could create a really fun concept that you could put in day-to-day in a feature, or week to week, or whatever your schedule is. So that's the concept, and that is how these trailblazing cartoonists, when they were able to connect with that part of themselves, that it's, you know, our humanness is very much imperfection, but to find something that does that, it's very therapeutic. It gets us out of our you know, the seriousness of it, and takes it into where we're kind of having fun with it, and we're not taking it seriously anymore. And that's so very important, especially in the world that around us, which has become so serious and so self-important, and so becoming separate from the individual, and becoming becoming this herd mentality, which has its place, but the individual we're still individuals, and we still need to be individual. We can't just be part of the herd all the time. Be an individual sometimes too. So anyway, so let's go back to what we were going to do with the Evil Nobody. You can, if you've got your concept, let's say that your Evil Nobody has been accepted by somebody, and you're actually getting maybe paid for it. Or, you know, you're getting a readership, you're getting a following. You might want to have, you know, add some color to that. And I kind of, with this one, I created a bit of a look to it. And it may be the look that you'll go with forever, but it may not be. So I put a little color bar here, and color is so good now. I know that newspapers always were black and white, but now the comic feature I work on now, it is running in a newspaper, and they run it in color, and it looks, it looks better than any color comic section that I saw back in the day. But anyway, that's just the nature of printing now is so different and so much improved now, and for much less price per unit here. So let's add some color. So I had a bit of a color idea that I was going to do here, and I had red for Evil Nobody here. I'm just going to turn the camera now to the tablet here, or sorry, to the iPad, and I will begin to work on our Evil Nobody here. Let's see if I can get that a little closer here so we can, there we go. And I'll just go to our layer here, our color layer, and we'll just add a little bit of color to the here. So, and that's the other thing is these are fine lines. These are fine touches here that we're doing. What would we put in here? I thought it would be fun to put a nice bright color, but you know, this is such a bizarre concept, and the guy's kind of green because he's so he's just that type of character. This might be what you choose to do later on, or you might change him entirely down the road. But it seemed fun at the time. So, what kind of color would we put the nobody part in? Nobody I would think white could be blank, so we could try that, or we could try gray, because gray is dull, and he's a dull guy. These are things that you can consider into your plans here as you create your concept. I think I'm going to try the gray and I'm going to just give it full opacity. I'm going to thicken my brush up here. I'm probably just going to take it right to the biggest thing there, and we can just fill in some of this lettering here. And this is what it comes down to, is once you've got your concept and everything done, you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to work this out. And this is why cartoonists they're whiz bang with their ideas, but there comes a time when you got to sit down and do that work. And there's lots of stories out there about cartoonists who had trouble with this part of it. They had the ideas, or sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they were talented artists, but they struggled with getting the right idea. They were perfectionists. And the one I've read about most that I can sort of see some similarities with is a cartoonist named Jimmy Fries, Canadian cartoonist who did a comic strip. Basically, it was the definitive Canadian comic strip called Bird's Eye Center, and it was begun in the Toronto Star in the 1920s, and he became very popular during the Depression of the 1930s. Now, he was, the 1920s, of course, were a rollicking, 1920s were a rollicking time, and there was a lot of comics. That was really the beginning of the boom of comics in newspapers. But in Canada, really, there's no Canadians, and it was because of the American distribution system was so powerful. They could get the work of an American cartoonist into your newspaper for less than it would be to get a Canadian cartoonist to do it custom for you, like Jimmy Fries, for example. So the Toronto Star did have other American cartoonists that were syndicated in their paper, but they had to really outlay extra money that most newspapers wouldn't have done at the time. They were so cautious about what they spent, and it was very expensive to hire an artist to do stuff, and they had enough on staff in a lot of cases. And Jimmy Fries was the one that they took the chance on, and he was the one who made a career of it. But Jimmy Fries, yes, he was a cartoonist who had trouble getting the ideas, but he was very talented, and he got the ideas that he needed to get because he had quite a career. So there we go. There's our title card, and we can add touches to it. So again, this is where you develop your look. What will add to this? What could add to this? What will detract from it? So you're obviously trying to. So this is your title card. This might be your title card for your feature. What will add to it? What will that's something that you can determine yourself at some point. And I came up with this idea for the character. It's very bizarre, but and I used a pseudonym here. but you can certainly use your name, and you can certainly use your other things to do of yourself. But I hope this inspires you to try, to just try something, just get it going, and I hope it's inspired you to do some of the things that I've talked about. So like he's just a regular guy, but he's got this really bizarre look, and it's kind of a very dark looking feature, but he's really just a regular guy who's trying to be, who's a wannabe bad guy, and he can't be. He's too nice. And don't we all like people like that? If they're trying to be bad and they're still nice, how can you dislike somebody like that? And that's why I thought it might be a good concept to try for us here. Anyway, that's what I've got for you. And I would take it back. Let's take it back here. And this reminds me a lot of Mad Magazine stuff that I used to read too, because it had this very avant-garde look to it, and very simple, and yet very interesting to look at. And the daily comic strips didn't have something that Mad Magazine had, and so it was because it was different. And that's what you're aiming for, is something that will be different. And it may not be. I'd like to reiterate, it may not be the thing that makes you a lot of money, but it will be the thing that will get your creative juices cooking. It'll get you whiz banging in your head. You'll be wanting to do more of it. You'll be wanting to do it better next time. And we'll get into some concepts of how, once you get it going, how you can develop beyond just doing the strip, marketing it, how to put yourself out there. I mean, look at the world we've got. We've got social media where you can put teasers, and I know a lot of artistic people do that. They put teasers there's something called I wish I had learned some of this stuff earlier. Something called Patreon, where you can host material on it, and people will pay to see it. Or that's the goal, or that's the concept. People pay to see your work on Patreon. So, wow, this is. It seems like we're in a time where, if you can get the right concept or the right vehicle, you could drive a lot of places. And it is, after all about the journey, not about the destination. The destination you can look back on when it's all said and done. That's the destination. But in the meantime, it's the journey. Where are you going? Where can you take it? Who are you? Where are you going? That's the concept. So anyway, I think that's a wrap here for the lesson. And Tom, I can hand it over to you if you're there. And if not, I could go on a little bit further about the history, about how history has gone in the war, the Second World War. Comics were really they were the world that, and comics and movies, things like that. They were the things that really took people out of the seriousness of what was going on, and we're living in serious times now. So with that in mind, it's good therapy for you, and it will be good therapy for the world you work in. And I hope it all helped.
Just wanted to thank Jeff for this session. And now that you guys can hear me, I know Jeff's heard me because we're connected differently, but our audience out there. So here, let me just go over this. So there's the email for Jeff, jeffwilsonmentorship@gmail.com. You can send him any questions you might have about this workshop, or any ideas that you're struggling with, or just as you're developing your artistic styles and definitions. And any technical questions, you can email me, tom@tbmcs.ca. And what we'll be doing is, I have the last the sessions from Jeff. We're putting them on our YouTube channel, and there were some information, some questions about the internet. So I think there were some people had some internet issues, but don't worry, you can rewatch these directly from this link. So from this Vimeo link, you'll be able to rewatch them right when we're done. So it's all like archived here, so you can keep going back to these, and you want to rewatch a certain part or anything like that. So it's that's the great thing, that you can rewatch these and enjoy them right after. So yeah, if you had any issues, don't worry. You can rewatch these right after. So you come live, and then you can do the post watching. If you, let's say next week you can't make it, no worries. Again, you can always check us out in the rewatch. So that's always a great thing that you can do that both ways. Yeah, so again, send us any questions you have. Really excited to see the next few weeks unfold, and all the information that Jeff's going to have for us. And yeah, just in the meantime, just want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and then Wasaga Beach Public Library. Be sure to check out the iPads that are available at Blue Mountains Public Library and the Collingwood Public Library. And also Wasaga Beach Public Library has some iPads as well. So check out all this tech, and explore what you can do. And again, we will see you guys next week. So same time, next Saturday, week 2. And we'll see you guys then. Take care and have a great rest of the day.